these folks finish up gathering. Now what you came for, the survey, and what has it told us so far? All right. First of all, some demographics as to who answered the question. Age, you can see that us boomers are most represented, which is awesome, and I think that's cool, and we dominate and we rule. No, just kidding. Yes, anyway. Secondly, marital status, by far and away, most married. Thirdly, children at home, no response, which I would say was probably 0, and then 0 itself, and a lot of people had 4 or less. Maybe I've had 4 people with 4. Service time attended, 8 o'clock, 9:30, 11, no response. And some people said, I attend more than one particular time. Well, so it wasn't a big percentage of people who say, I respond more than one. All right, let's get into the questions. Question 1. What is the one thing that King of Kings does best? Now, when we were evaluating the survey, we had a question that we had to answer right away. Do we just take the top one, or do we take whatever they said? Well, because we failed, or it never even thought of, people giving more than one answer to that, we went, well, let's go ahead and put in whatever people said was the one thing, even if it was 3 things. We rarely got more than 2. A lot of ones, some 2s. I don't recall too many after that. How about you? You remember, Mike? Or? Yeah, we didn't get a lot of 1s at times. Okay. No response. Down here. Yes.
How many responses did we have?
126.
Okay, thank you.
126. And then someone just sent me one today. All right.
Skew everything.
It's interesting how people answer based upon the question, because we see these values expressed in different ways, percentage-wise, depending on the question. But let's jump into this. Okay. Question 1, and you have these in front of you, beginning on page 13. Okay, page 13, bottom. What is the one thing King of Kings does best? Preaching straight doctrine. Welcoming, warm, accepting, inviting. Small group, life groups. And you see a fairly significant drop-off. Worship services, Bible studies, youth ministry, other, and if not always, but sometimes the other you're going to see on the last 3 pages. The last 3 pages beginning on page 21. It's almost always, we try to get everything. The others didn't make the minimum that number you see there. For example, on page 22, we have 3 music ministry in that particular question, and then other was 12. Well, there wasn't even 3 of anything else. Does that make sense? So it didn't make a category. Yes?
Just a word on the process of how the categories arose. We had a larger group going through and scanned the entire pattern.
Right. You read every survey.
And then we went through and coded everything and said, we've got these that don't really fit. So we actually added the categories and we did the problem. And then we did that again. So we actually went through 3 rounds of what categories make the most sense.
Right. Well, first we determined, I guess you would say, topics, titles, categories, large categories. Then we gave each one of those categories a code. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, usually a letter. Then we went through and we said question number 1 on, and put numbers, survey number 43, and A on the front, B on the back, because these were scanned. And we had to keep together that way. Then we went ahead and gave every single answer a code, a letter code. Then we took those and we counted them. So you had, for example, 50 who said preaching straight doctrine mattered very much to them. Thought it was one of our strengths, and then being warm and welcoming. All right, next one. What are the reasons someone would want to join King of Kings? Now you go back, number 2 here. Number 1, and you'll see a flip. Because I think that's basically saying the same thing. Doctrinal based, we're strong, have strong theology. Life groups, Bible studies, worship, youth and children's ministries, pastor, staff. And notice it didn't get up here, got down here. And then other, and no response. No response. Next. What's that? Oh. What makes you, or would make you feel at home, more at home, at King of Kings? Look at that. Nothing else is in the ballpark of the fact that overall, friendly, welcoming people. Now, there were a few, matter of fact, just a couple, who said that they didn't think that we were all that warm and welcoming. One, a story about someone who came, who didn't feel we were warm and welcoming and didn't get followed up on. And then someone else who said, the backs are always to me. You know, people like each other, and it is warm and welcoming, but kind of cliquish, I guess. And they did not feel that we were very warm and welcoming, and that's a good thing to hear, that there are folks who feel that way. And I just want to remind you again, because it's something we have to keep telling ourselves. I know we love each other, we like each other, we have friendships, relationships, and that is huge. But there's always a danger of just paying attention to people that you already know. Please, please look around at least a couple of times on Sunday mornings or Wednesday evenings for the person you don't know, and I'm going to coach you up again. Don't walk up and say, "Are you new here?" They may be a member who's been here since 1981 or 2. Say, "I don't believe that we've met." I don't believe we've met is a much better approach. And there you go. We share names, and you might ask, how long have you been here next? And if they say, "Oh, I'm new," well, you don't have to go and guess. They'll tell you. So those are just 2 little tools in your toolbox for connecting with someone that you don't know. I don't believe we've met. I don't believe I know you. Or I've seen you, but I don't know you. Hi, and then you share your name, they'll share their name, and you can go from there. They'll tell you. Yes?
One other suggestion would be, when we do that, we were talking about that, some people
Louder.
when we do that, those questions, like if you have the opportunity and you see the person you don't recognize and the people behind you, as you're getting up to go, because that person who's new and maybe feels unwelcome, you just bolt out.
Oh, yes.
So
A lot of times the visitor will come late and leave early. Yeah. Sometimes I think, what if we should have people who leave before and catch anybody who's trying to get the heck out of here quick? Of course, if they know we have a back door out that way, they might escape out there. I don't know. Anonymity, that's why, for example, I don't have people stand up. If I think we have visitors, I don't go, "Could we have our visitor stand?" Everybody fawn over them and slap a name tag on them and give them a basket full of bread. Okay, that's great. Give them a basket full of bread, but not during the service. Okay, that culturally is a big shift in the 30-some years I've been doing this. That and knocking on doors. People don't like it. They don't like it, for the most part, when you go knock on doors. I don't know why, I really don't, except we have a Baptist church down by the football field in Marion that still will come and knock on doors. And me personally, I'm thinking, well, I already have a church home. And number two, I deeply value my time at home. Okay? And we have become more busy. All the studies tell us that. We have less hours at home with each other. So maybe that has something to do with it. Anybody else? Then? Yes? Mike.
Yeah, in coding this one, those top three, it was quite hard in many cases to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, see why we put acceptance up right next to friendships, relationships.
And we talked about making that one category, but it was not all the way.
Yeah, so we just put them next to each other. That's why this one's so disproportionate. All right? Yes?
The way the question is phrased, you're actually looking at two different things. What does make you feel at home, or what could make you feel at home? I think those are two very different things. I don't think anybody would argue that time alone would make you feel at home, but I don't necessarily answer the question that you feel.
Yes, and that, I will add this thought. That's where the totality of the surveys does come in. So if you flip back to the first one, what is one of our great strengths? So there we have number two, warm welcoming. So we see it as an existing strength or as something that we'd like to do better. Well, I'd say again, it isn't an either or. We're good at it. Let's keep it up and let's get better at it. So that's how and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So let's not just sit here and say, well, we're good at it, because we could lose that and start turning towards each other, those groups of 3, 4, 5 people whose backs are to everybody else. Lift up your eyes and look around for the person you don't know, that you don't recognize. Hi, I don't believe we've met. Okay? Thank you. If King of Kings did not exist today, how would the community be impacted? And out of that, we got two big categories outside of King of Kings, but people also answered for themselves, which I thought was neat. How would it affect me? Members lose their church home. That was the biggest one by far. And they said it in a wonderful variety of ways. But it came down to, it would be a loss for me and it would be a loss for my family. Which makes sense because we are a highly connected congregation through our life group ministries. That's not the end of everything. It is a wonderful resource and tool that we have that does help us be connected. By the way, the research tells us that if you're new, if you don't know 8 people by name after 8 months, statistically, you're going to leave. 8 people by name, 8 months in. And how large are life groups typically? 8 to 12. So that's one of the reasons that we feel that is so important, is not just the content, but the relationships that are offered there. It's comforting to walk into a place and say, oh, I recognize 3 people. And it's a lot easier. A lot easier. So very good. A boy lost a Christian witness and teaching in the area. Loss of support to specific ministries. African, Bridgehaven, Celebrate Recovery, so forth. Minimal or no impact. I was being blunt with you. I thought that'd be larger. I did. So I was really pleased. Other, and no response, don't know. I don't know. People's, no, I don't. Okay? Then, what is the greatest opportunity for King of Kings at this time? Wow! I was thrilled. I was thrilled when this service. Local evangelism and outreach. You know, this isn't just an aspirational thing. This is a core value of us as a collective congregation. We truly believe the Great Commission. And the challenge of Jesus, the statement that we are to be witnesses. And I would say we want to do this better. And we want specific expression to this. So that's a wonderful, wonderful place for us to be. And I'm thrilled as the lead pastor, and I know Pastor Balvans is too, as an associate, that this has been reflected back from you. That this is our greatest opportunity. And I agree, 100%. Church ministries, young adult ministries, organized to find vision and mission of the church, connection, process, small group Bible studies, more engaged members, extended outreach, add space, music ministry, other, no response. Question 2, if finance were not an issue, how do you get there? My slides got all goofed up. Sorry. If finances were not an issue, what would or should King of Kings add to its ministry? Outreach, mission, upper room, etc. Again, I was pleased. I was very pleased. Bible study space, Bible studies and ministries, and these can go together. Staff, space for youth, gym, preschool, larger sanctuary. Those are the two biggest points of discussion, along with preschool, daycare, whatever, during the summer months when we had our open forums. Lots of, I want either larger sanctuary or a family life center that would embrace or pull in a daycare, children's family-based ministry. Space for fellowship, hall, and you know what? We really struggled with, does that mean a gym type of facility or space for fellowship hall? And as we read comments, we decided to leave it its own category because, and I'm glad we have this particular speaker. This is what we bought for the Africans. It's a far superior one, but still this is an echo chamber. It has columns, a terrible line of sight for a lot of people. We have 50 people here, and this is about as good as we can get with line of sight. I remember when we first started, we tried that wall, and people up there were going, so we had stiff necks for about 3 weeks afterwards, for about 20 people, right? So and that's what they meant. Something larger than the Heartland room, smaller than a gymnasium. And if they like large motor activity for children, even for young, like high school, junior high. They could go in there and run around, but not a gym. And then, of course, gym. So we separated them out. And we're not sure exactly, because only one person wrote his name on it, on the survey. And so we can't go back and say, what did you mean when you said it? But we wanted it to be anonymous, or at least have that option. If you wanted to write your name, you could have. Larger sanctuary. How many was that? What does it say on that page? Okay, 11. And then how about the gym one? 15. Okay. That's the power of hard data. Now, is this everybody in the church weighing in? No. Did everybody in the church have an opportunity to weigh in? Yes. And are we going to put it to a vote? I don't know.
How did the space for youth / gym, how did they, I mean, to me that's a little confusing because space for youth doesn't net
They oftentimes qualified what the gym would be used for. And that was the number one response. Tied into a gym. Yeah, they could do large runaround.
Place if they specifically said the word youth or gym, any answer,
Then we put those together, if they were together, yep. Could have been, generally they weren't, but there weren't that many responses. So we, yes, Ian.
What, maybe somebody who worked with data can answer this, what comprises the other category? That seems like a lot of other in there that could impact our ability to move forward with unity.
I'm gonna appeal, I think some of them actually bought the surveys.
I'll read some of them off. Some of the ones that didn't make it. Donuts and fellowship meals, outside resources, school and tuition, children's music and choir, technology, English language lessons, hymnals, more or better, ministries, kitchen. Those were some of the things. Generally, if and what we did is generally if there were several of the same thing mentioned in the other category, we gave a different category.
So,
Does that help?
yeah, if we're talking about donuts, that's not necessarily a divisive issue. but-
Yeah.
A lot of those in the other, unfortunately, there were one-offs. So it was, as you could get it from what Wendell said, it was hard, we couldn't categorize.
No.
But we did go back and recode those where we could put them into
Yeah,
that.
3 times, which we realized we needed to generate a different category. Okay. And every once in a while, it may not have been an answer to the same question, but we picked it up enough, we went ahead. Okay? So we felt that there was really good representation for all the significant responses. By significant, I would say if it got 3 or more. That was the lowest numeric value that we recorded was 3. Made a category that we created. Okay? Anybody else so far? We'll talk about all of this. Yes, and there.
I find it super interesting. If you were to line up all the things that have space in that one, so gym, preschool, sanctuary, college hall, it'd probably be a much longer line. And so this is, if finances were no issue, we have a gazillion dollars, just do whatever we want. You go back to the last question, what's the greatest opportunity facing us? The evangelism outreach is so far, and the space is just tiny.
Yeah.
Like, we know that space would be great if we had all the money in the world, but it isn't that big of an issue, and the longs, the big span of what's needed for it.
Yeah, reflecting on both observations of what was written in comments and softer input, people in conversations. At times, there was almost a resentment of why are we talking about building space when there's so many people going to hell out there? Which, yeah, okay, Mike?
That's a great segue to the next chart.
Yeah, it is. Next chart, 6. What is the most important issue facing King of Kings at this time? Hands down, focus. Unity. Church identity. That first word really captures it. We do have different things that we want to see us doing. Focusing is pulling them all together and choosing, right? Can you think of a different way of looking at it? What do we want to do together? And that's why I led off the way I did, and I'm going to end the way I will. Those 5 purposes, and there's other purposes, but these are crystal clear to me. Evangelism to me is number 1. It's the primary purpose we're here on this planet, but we're also here to serve. We're here to fellowship with each other. We're here to grow, to learn, to follow Jesus more closely. So focus. And that, folks, is why we slowed down. I understand it generated among some a perception that we in leadership don't know what we're doing or we're divided. Well, you're free to think what you want, but I'm telling you, our staff is very united. Very united. I am just as interested and passionate about Nubo and the Czech Village proposal as Pastor Balvance is about family life, okay? It isn't that one pastor wants one thing, one pastor wants another. That is absolutely not the case. We just want to know, where's God leading us? And that's why we slowed everything down to go deeper. We have great unity here. Great unity here. We aren't focused. And that's why we're doing this. Okay? So the next one, Bible space for Bible studies, fellowship, youth, sanctuary, growth of church, younger adults, track younger adults, complacency in Christian walk, and the resulting involvement or lack thereof, music ministry, assimilation of new members, involvement, activities, organization of church staff responsibilities, transparency in governance, knowing God and Jesus better, and then improved communication, social media. So, that is number 6. Yes?
On the first one, when you say church identity, you mean, maybe you said this, I missed it, but you mean how we're known in the community, what we're known for as a church?
Survey team? Would you like to respond to that?
I'm just wondering what church identity means, and I'm assuming that it means what we're known for in the community.
It's both. It's how we perceive ourselves, and it's how we are perceived. What's that?
What we want our children to be, not what people see that, what we want people to see that. So I don't know if we're doing surveys that it's more, what do we want as a church identity? Kind of creating a church identity because
Yeah.
we feel like we don't have it.
Others who are on the survey team, how would you respond to that? What were people trying to tell us with the church identity?
We're going to identify, focus.
Yeah.
There's the internal. Then you become known outside. So it's both.
We pulled it out mostly in association with the first two up there. Focus and unity. And out of that, we also heard church identity. I don't know that it was qualified enough to answer that question beyond those first two. That's why I included them all together, because someone would say, we need to focus better and be more clear on our identity. So that's more how it was stated. They kind of bunched those together. Or we need greater unity, and we need to have our identity reflect that.
We don't know what we're about in the congregation, then we can't inform anybody outside how we're different from what direction we're going.
Yeah, I think a few of those responses would be along the lines of, we don't say we're Missouri Synod often enough. There was a handful of that within the surveys. Or there were those who said, we say it too much. And I haven't really shared this, but most of the surveys were very kind. Some of them were not. Some of them were very pointed. And not the whole survey, but points within the survey. And that's to be expected. It's an opportunity for people to share what they're thinking and feeling. At times, it was painful. But, so you go. So it goes. Okay? Anything else on this? Let's see what my next slide is. Okay. What about King of Kings would you like to see changed? Question 7. And here's where the add space was most clearly expressed. Add space for classrooms, fellowship, sanctuary, youth. So that all came under one umbrella. But notice we have some real close values, no more than 16 of the 126. Focus, unity, specific purposes. Music style, mood changes. Service style changes. This was more, I want more contemporary, or I want more liturgical traditional. First time I've heard that. Better information accessibility.
Pastor, I
Yes.
think on service style, that also would be, some wanted more of the blended services
Yes.
throughout.
Yeah, these were your people who have very strong preferences on traditional liturgical or contemporary or blended or times. I go to such and such a service time, my family does. Why is that always contemporary? Or why don't we do it? That's where all the opinions came out. Style, mood changes. And these are really saying a lot of the same thing in different ways. Then more emphasis on outreach or collaboration. Let's see, better communication from leaders. 9:30 Bible studies. There were how many? 8, I think, requested that we have. We dropped the middle service and just offer adult Bible studies at that time in the sanctuary. No worship time at that time. Visitor, new member. What was that one again? I'm losing my definition.
That's the assimilation.
That's the assimilation, that's right.
Warm and friendly, but then 2 weeks later, everybody stopped talking.
Yeah, there was a term that was used a couple of 3 times, or it got kind of, they're fuzzy, or what was the adjective that was used? What's that? Yeah, fuzzy came up a couple of times. It just, yeah, fuzzy. That we really don't feel like we're part of something specifically here. I don't know. Yeah, they didn't write a dictionary definition, but I don't know if they were all sitting at the same table and someone said fuzzy and they all wrote fuzzy. I don't know. Let's see, family fellowship opportunities. And this would reflect, I think, a wonderful, I'm going to go ahead and editorialize again, creating specific opportunities, not just for family fellowship opportunities, but I think this would also safely reflect intergenerational. More Bible-based studies. This is the one in 1 Peter. While some people have said, oh, it's so much work and it's so much time, we have heard way more people say, it is so awesome getting into a verse-by-verse Bible study and really thinking through and looking up other verses, and there's a great appreciation, but there's some who don't care for it. Let's see, children's ministry improvements, and about 5 people. And then small group composition changes. This was mostly, we would like to change which group we're in. We'd like to see some real specific opportunities for that, which we have done in the past. And I can tell you, small group dynamics, it's hard for a group to change. It is. They become like a family, which is kind of what you want. But they can become staid, I understand that. And there's some times where someone wants to leave and they feel like it would be leaving their family. But they're ready for a change. They want to meet some other people, they want something new, whatever. So that was there. And it wasn't a whole bunch, it was like 4 or 5. But these are what about King of Kings would you like to see change? And we've got some pretty sizable, although not 126 size. Yes, here and then here.
So, I guess I'd like to offer an interpretation,
Please.
maybe right along with it, and we certainly won't get resolution on today. To me, it's no surprise that there was conflict or disagreement, because when we look at this question, what is it that we want to see changed? It has to do with space, it has to do with music style, it has to do with service style, communication with leaders. You got to go down to the 6th bar there, more emphasis on outreach, to get something that's consistent with our responses to question 2, which was the financing were not an issue, what King of Kings had in its ministry, they answered outreach, missions, etc. And consistent with question 5, which was overwhelmingly the greatest opportunities for local evangelism and outreach. It's almost as if as a congregation we got excited about space and we forgot about what we thought was the most important thing in the first place, which was evangelism and outreach on a local basis. So I just think it's really interesting that we say, yes, this is our greatest opportunity, and then we're very excited about space and style and so on and so forth. And maybe this may be an opportunity for us to refocus. Okay, if we really believe these are the biggest opportunities, let's put our money where that is. And let's not get distracted by these other things.
Okay. We have first here, then here. So go ahead. Andrew.
Point out that with this particular chart, it's kind of misleading when you first look at it, because 16 responses about adding space, it's less than 15% of the
I know.
responses. So while that looks like a huge bar, and we go overwhelmingly, we want to do those top few things.
Right. That's why I said that's 16 out of 126. We have to keep this in perspective.
This chart really points out is that there's no single driven purpose that we want to lead towards.
That we want to see
As far as
change.
We want to see change.
Yeah.
So you need almost expansion on this to really get a solid idea of what to change.
Yeah. Mike and then Steve.
I think more space might not mean co-located. More access to more space doesn't have to mean at King of Kings' present location.
Well, that would be a wedding of the outreach,
Yeah, that's what I was
being a regional church, and a place to do a particular thing. I mean, that could be, like I talked about earlier when we were at the district office. I really miss the proximity factor. It takes me 15 minutes to get here, and it took me half that time to get to the district office. And if there was an evening activity, I just enjoyed that shorter distance. It would be closer to the Claymans. It'd be closer to, it'd be closer to a lot of you. Okay. And that appealed to me, but in the end I thought, no, we're not going to do that. At least I'm not going to push that at this point. Maybe in the future, to throw that out there as a possible idea. And not just at the district office, but that area. So that could be a wedding of the two. Steve.
This chart would look a lot different. If we were having trouble, if we had borrowed on our line of credit, added more line of credit, this would look very different. If
Oh, yeah.
we had lost our pastor and were having trouble pulling a new one, this would look very different. If we had members leaving in droves, this would look very different. I think to some extent, this reflects the essence of any sort of hard burning issue that we all
And honestly, this is indicative of a healthy church. Because, number one, there aren't any burning, broken issues. Except, I would say, a perception that we're not focused. Well, here's part of the reason why. Is we do have some strong personal preferences, which is, and I don't want to say that's the only thing reflected here, but I think that is a big part of what's reflected here. Here's what I would like to see, and that's the nature of the question. What do you think? What do you want? What do you think we need to do better? Really, that's the heart of it. Yes, Mike.
I would think that we would need to be united in that purpose. While we could probably, in the next 20 years, do all of these things, today, we could probably only do one or two.
Right.
With the resources, the people, and the finances.
And the leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that did come up too. Several, not enough to make it as a category, said, we're doing too much. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing super well across the board. That came up, and we heard that. So it didn't, like I said, it didn't even have 4. I think that's the cutoff. Yes.
At the risk, Wendell, on question 7, I know we had 36 that said other. Do you have like a smattering?
I don't have it as listed because those were so diverse that they didn't fit any of the ones, and many of those that are up there are categories that were in the other and these are the only ones that garnered like that.
4 or more. There we are. That's a composite of our congregation. Here's a summary. As a congregation, we embrace sound theological, we embrace a sound theological and doctrinal-based church. We are. Which is embraced by warm and friendly people. So we very much value clear, thus saith the Lord, Bible-based, Word of God preaching and teaching. We value that. We value being warm, friendly. We appreciate the fact that this does connect with people. I would have, based upon this theological doctrine based, that reflected more of the sermons than any particular other category. We have several opportunities for adult Bible study that, like Pastor Balvance and I have offered a couple of times, pastors teaching a Bible study, and we haven't had a lot of participation on Sunday mornings. Yes.
May I make a comment about that first one?
Yeah.
I think, from Mark's and my perspective, something that is really quite strong and thought of is when you do the Foundations of Faith class for people who are interested in becoming parents, you're setting the foundation for that right there. You're setting expectations for when people come in, and I think it's just an outstanding class that you pass about us. It really is. That was one of the best refreshers for us, and it really let us know what kind of environment we're coming into, and we can have confidence.
Yeah, and we do that, and we ask. We don't require, but we ask, just in case you're not aware, everybody, regardless of if they are a lifetime Missouri Synod Lutheran, even have been in the ministry, we ask everybody to go through that for 2 reasons. One, it doesn't hurt you to have a refresher. It doesn't. It's just nice for everybody to hear, this is what we believe, teach, and confess as a body of believers in this place. Secondly, you meet people. You meet people. And a lot of times, we see relationships forged in these groups. Okay? So, relationships and a refresher, here's what we're about. Clearly. I'm being very selfish. The one thing I miss most as pastor of this church is a large venue adult Bible study that I get to lead on Sunday morning. I miss it very much. Very much. And I'd like to have that opportunity again someday. The survey disclosed that our church has a strong desire to reach out to others through mission and evangelism. And I don't think that's aspirational. I just think we need to put more planning and more leadership on that. We have already invested and been through once joining Jesus on his mission. We are going to re-engage in that. And Will Hartney and Greg have kept that alive. And Will is going to go through the leadership track that Steve Epley, myself, Jerry Green, Todd Mitchell, Pastor Ballvan's pitching every so often. They're going to track through that. And we would hope and like to see anybody who is struggling with wanting to see a new ministry start or an existing ministry strengthen. Did you hear that? To start a new or strengthen an existing ministry, to know the power of that process. Because it includes what is leadership, what does it look like biblically, organizationally, the best research out there. Secondly, we are going to help you identify a ministry early on in the process, a change we've made since we began this, since Steve first put it together. And then thirdly, we're going to help you recruit. That's hard for a lot of people. Depending on the topic, it's hard for me at times. Okay? I'm very comfortable recruiting about certain things. Other things I'm not very comfortable recruiting. And I don't know why, but that's a personal wiring thing. And I'm guessing for some of you, that's probably the case as well. That recruitment may be the biggest obstacle. Or one of the other benefits of this is that we tell you and we come alongside of you answering the question, how do we do things here? How do we get things done here? And we walk you through that process. So when you're done, you know exactly how we operate. Okay? There were many and varied changes described in question 7. Some changes to be accomplished would necessitate some space needs, such as accommodating additional Bible study offerings on Sunday. Others, perhaps, would be better accomplished through going into the local mission field, and it will require prioritization of the desired changes that have been given and how it fits in God's plan for us. And I mentioned this team, it's the overall team of the survey review, and it's not in your handout, but I want to be sure that Kathy and Renee were highlighted, and then the 3 men who were there every time last week, getting Wayne and Mike and Wendell. Rob was there a couple of times. Renee was and Kathy were heavily involved in the whole categorizing and building coding. Then Kathy and Steve, after the harvest celebration, were out of town for that week, and Renee is a mom and works. So she couldn't make all the early meetings, but they're both marvelous participants. All right, now, and we just have 2 questions that we're going to ask you, and they're at the end. What do you see us looking like 5 years from now and 25 years from now? Short term and long term. Short term and long term.
You skipped one, Pat.
Oh, did I? Sorry. Table talk. Oh, yes. Well, that, what do God's Word, I'm looking at the time. I can't believe it's gotten away from us so quickly. What do God's Word, demographics, and the survey tell us we should be focusing on as a congregation? And here's how I want you to build your answers at the tables using this. If you would like, I think it helps, gives you clarity to answering this question. What does it tell us we should be focusing on? Well, in other words, what is our preferred vision of the future? What do we believe God is opening up for us? What opportunities? What challenges? What is the church going to look like 5 years, 25 years from now? Or you can answer it any way you please. I'm just trying to give you some kind of clarity in the hand. So, these verses, and then I'll be quiet. In his heart of man plans his course. But the Lord does what? The Lord, so, is there anywhere in there where God tells us, don't make plans? No, he does tell us to make plans, but with what understanding? He's the one who's going to guide us. And you know my saying out of that, it's a lot easier to steer a moving car. And plans get us moving. And God is in the driver's seat. Okay? And then the second one, commit to the Lord. Whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. So no matter what we plan, God will guide us. But I believe he calls it the plan to dream. And therefore, do what? Not sit still, not just show up on Sunday morning. Go. That's it. Now it's your turn. And have at it around your tables. Yeah, Holy Bible. Go grab something, use the restroom, but get to work.
We all know Thursday nights, we know where it is, we know when it is, we know what it is. We all go hang out.
They're ready for something, they don't know that it was, and I can say that to me, like, I'm ready for something. So I think it's gonna be
Don't package it like mine. I was thinking when I looked at my
All right, well, we are at the point where we said we were going to knock it off. A simple exercise 5 and 25 years from now, but boy, oh boy, getting at conclusive, pointed specifics is a lot more difficult. I never anticipated that this would be the end-all conversation that we would be having. I did design it so that we would hear from 3 levels: God, outside voice, which is what demographics does. It's the best way to know what are they thinking, what do they want, how do they perceive things, folks that don't go to church. And then thirdly, our own membership. And we've heard from all 3. Where we go from here is we are going to go to our normal process using all of this input, which is all of the existing ministries, from children's ministry, board of elders, governing board, life groups, music ministry, so forth. And each one of them is tasked with the responsibility of dreaming about the future, upgrading what they're currently doing, but looking at what do we want to see happen. We take that and we distill it into goals for the coming year, and we present those to the congregation along with accompanying budgetary recommendations associated with that. So that's the existing process. I'll offer this. If this was of value to you, we have one voters meeting a year, but we can hold as many meetings as we want. We can hold as many voters meetings as we want if we have something that we have to vote on. If you would like to go through a similar exercise this time or a different time, please let me know. Let Pastor Ballvance know. Let one of the staff know. And I think it'd be wonderful to further refine focus. And that's how focus happens. It's work. It's a lot of work. We can do it through the existing processes and channels, or we can have another time where we collectively, those who are interested, like you, gather together. Just let me know. I'll do a straw poll right now. How many of you found this valuable enough, but you would like more to follow through more specifically and continue the refinement focusing process only? Raise your hands if you would like to do it again. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Would the Saturday work best, Sunday after church work best, Sunday midday, or an evening? I'm astonished at how fast it went when I was talking. So, what works best for you? This time, raise your hand. This time. Sunday after church. And evening. Oh, you guys are so helpful. I just think, someone said it or wrote it when it came to worship times and styles. If the Green Bay Packers are having a game, they don't do a survey as to when it would work best. They set a time, and you show up at that time. Okay? Now, I'm not going to do that with worship styles, but I got the point. So let's, the overwhelming majority was this time, even though it's not perfect, is going to work best for most people. Okay? Yes?
Well, the staff and the governing board and everything will have a couple of months to digest what's
Yes.
going on.
And the existing ministries.
Will you then have a presentation of that to the voters in January?
Oh, yes.
Just a summary?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would hope that we could refine this in a shorter period than a couple of months.
Yes. That's my hope as well. That's why I agree with you. I would love to take everything that we heard, and I think you need to hear all of it. You need to hear thus saith the Lord, you need to hear thus saith the community, and what the members of the congregation are thinking and saying. We've got some good clarity. Now we need to come together and decide on our priorities. Amen? So, note takers, you're good, Becky?
I just had a comment
Yes.
say, I'm willing to put my time and my mouth to this. And so, just pray for people to be willing to step up and make that investment.
Right.
As we decide what's priority, it's not just money, it's time, and time is our shells, for our life.
So my wife, she asks me, and this could be any particular topic. Let's say I know that Ann would like me to build a patio, a brick patio, paper patio in the backyard. She will ask me, Mark, what is it going to take for you to get that done? Okay? I'll say, honey, two things, time and focus. And I think that is an overlay over anything that we want to do together. Time and focus. And by focus, I mean work. Putting everything else aside and getting on my knees and starting to dig and put sand and all that stuff that goes into a patio. And if there's anybody who knows how to do a patio, please talk to me afterwards. And I'd be thrilled, because I've never done one. And that's my hesitancy. Thank you all. God's blessings. Let's stand up. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to pray, and then we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Heavenly Father, we believe that you are guiding us. And Lord, it is work, and it is time. And I pray, Lord, that these busy people who have full lives can come together and find those times where we can really dig deep, seek you. And I pray also, Lord, that each and every one of us who is here and many beyond would spend time in praying and asking you to do your will in and through us. For the sake of Jesus, and in his name I pray to your glory. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you all very much. Wow. That was fun. Good exercise. And we're going to take everything, what we're going to take, we're going to distill that down. Highlight. Oh yeah. Hey folks, a request, if you have not signed up for pictures, please do so before you leave. This is for our directory. We want better communication. We want to know each other better. It is so helpful to have names with faces. Sign up. Thank you, sir. Yeah, be sure. Well, everybody should do that. This is from your team. Okay.
We did discuss it at our table.
Well done, Danny. I appreciate you moderating over here. Governing finance.
Oh, Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey, how is the debt free?
Yes.
You know, God says this. It's not what he's talking about or something like that.
He made money. The whole idea.
Felt nice. Out there. It's nice.
I would say the gospel is Jesus Christ. What you're talking about is discipleship, fully following. All right. Oh, this is fun. I love this. Very helpful. Good. Very helpful. Now we've got the system down. Yep. We're good.